Welcome to another deep dive, everyone. Today we're exploring memory, and we're using Unlimited Memory by Kevin Horsley as our guide.
And this book really digs deep into how we can all kind of unlock our memory potential.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that anyone can achieve incredible memory feats. Like it's
Yeah.
not just for, those select few who are born with it.
Right.
So are you ready to kind of, maybe debunk some myths about photographic memory and those sorts of
Well,
things?
absolutely. Let's dive in.
So Horsley, he actually starts the book by sharing his own struggles with dyslexia.
Yeah. I think that's a really powerful way to start because it immediately shows that memory is a skill.
Right, not just some innate ability that you're either born with or you're not.
Exactly. Like he had to work really hard to overcome those challenges,
Mm.
and he ended up developing these incredible memory skills.
Yeah, and it really goes against that idea of, oh, I'm just not a memory person,
Right.
because he's living proof that you can change that.
And even in this age of Google and instant access to information, he argues that a strong internal memory is like more important than ever.
So I'm curious about that. Why does it matter so much? I mean, if we can just look up anything we need, why bother memorizing it?
Well, it comes down to like deeper understanding and decision making.
Mm.
It's one thing to access information, but
Right.
it's another to actually internalize it, connect it to other ideas,
Yeah.
and use it to navigate the complexities of, life and work and everything.
So it's not just about like spitting out facts. It's about making that knowledge a part of who you are.
Exactly. It's about connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture.
Now, I found this thought experiment in the book super interesting. He talks about Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Oh, yeah.
These two identical individuals, same genetics, same upbringing.
But their beliefs about their memory are completely different.
Yeah. And so on Earth 1, the person struggles with their memory.
While on Earth 2, they thrive, excelling in all sorts of areas because they believe in their ability to remember.
So he's saying that simply believing in your memory can actually make it better.
Absolutely. That belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
It's like if you think you're going to forget something, you probably will.
Right.
But if you believe you can remember it, you're much more likely to succeed.
And Horsley, he lays out these 5 empowering beliefs that can kind of set the stage for improving your memory.
Hmm.
And one of the most powerful ones is this idea that your memory is unlimited.
That's a big shift, going from thinking, oh, I have a bad memory to my memory is limitless.
It's a total abundance mindset instead of scarcity.
Yeah.
And it opens up so many possibilities.
It's like saying my mind is capable of absorbing and retaining so much more than I ever thought possible.
Exactly. And another key belief is seeing failure as simply feedback.
So instead of getting discouraged when we forget something, we use it as an opportunity to learn and adjust our approach.
Yeah. Embrace the growth mindset.
So we've talked about the importance of belief, but how do we actually develop that laser-like concentration that's so essential for memorization?
Well, I think Horsley does a really good job of acknowledging the reality of our modern lives. We're constantly bombarded with distractions.
Oh, tell me about it. My phone's always buzzing. There's always something vying for my attention.
Right. And all of that multitasking actually weakens our ability to focus deeply.
It's like our concentration muscle gets flabby from lack of use.
Exactly. So Horsley suggests we need to practice being here now.
That sounds very zen.
It is. And it's not just about, mindfulness and inner peace.
Mhm.
It's about training our minds to focus on the present moment, to really engage with what we're doing.
And part of that is taming that inner voice.
Yeah.
Right? That voice that's always criticizing us or telling us we're not good enough.
Yeah, that inner critic can be so loud sometimes.
So instead of beating ourselves up for forgetting things, we should focus on celebrating our successes, however small they may seem.
Absolutely. And kind of along those lines, he also debunks the myth of multitasking. Our brains are not designed to do multiple things well at the same time.
We might think we're being super efficient by juggling a million tasks, but in reality, we're just sacrificing quality and focus.
And probably creating more stress for ourselves in the process.
Exactly. So how do we make that shift from scattered multitasking to focused, engaged learning?
Well, Horsley introduces this PUS principle.
PIs.
Yeah, it stands for purpose, interest, and curiosity.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So purpose is all about understanding why you're learning something, what's the goal, how will this knowledge benefit you?
That makes sense. If you don't have a clear purpose, it's easy to lose motivation and interest.
Right. And then interest is crucial. When you're genuinely interested in something, you're much more likely to remember it.
It's like the difference between forcing yourself to read a textbook and getting lost in a captivating novel.
Exactly. And even if the material itself isn't inherently interesting, you can find ways to connect it to your own passions or existing knowledge.
That's a great tip. It's about finding those mental hooks that make the information relevant to you. And what about curiosity?
Curiosity is all about asking questions. Before you even start learning something new, fire up your mind with questions.
Like, how does this work? Or what are the implications of this?
Exactly. And those questions will keep you engaged and help you make connections as you learn.
So it's about shifting from passive absorption to active exploration, turning learning into an adventure.
Absolutely. And once you've got that curiosity going, you can start using Horsley's C principle to make information truly memorable.
See? What's that all about?
It stands for senses, exaggeration, and energize. It's about creating vivid mental images that stick in your mind.
Okay, that sounds fun. So senses means engaging as many of our senses as possible,
Yeah.
right? Like sight, sound, touch, even smell and taste.
Exactly. The more senses you involve, the richer and more memorable the experience will be.
It's like painting these multi-sensory mental canvases.
And then exaggeration is a powerful tool. Our brains are wired to remember the ridiculous, the outlandish, the unexpected.
It's like turning dry facts into a Monty Python sketch.
Exactly. The more absurd the image, the more likely you are to remember it.
I love that. And finally, energize. What does that involve?
It's about adding action, movement, and a dash of playful silliness to your learning.
So instead of just reading about the solar system, we're physically acting out planetary orbits.
Exactly. Or creating a silly song about the moons of Jupiter.
I can already see how these techniques could transform learning from a chore into a fun and engaging process.
And Horsley gives some really compelling examples of how to use C to remember everything from foreign vocabulary to complex concepts.
Now I'm ready to take this to the next level. What about more structured memory techniques, those that can help us organize and retain vast amounts of information?
Well, let's move into the fascinating world of memory palaces then.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So memory palaces, right, they sound kind of mysterious and intriguing.
Yeah, a little bit like something out of, like an ancient mystery novel or something.
Exactly. But the concept is actually pretty simple and really effective. And Horsley starts with what he calls the car method.
So we're using our cars to memorize things now.
In a way, yes. You basically turn the familiar layout of your car into a memory palace.
Okay, so, I spend a lot of time in my car, so I guess it makes sense.
Right, exactly. So think about it this way. Let's say you want to remember a list of superfoods.
Okay, I'm listening.
You could associate each food with a specific part of your car, like picture blueberries on the steering wheel,
Blueberries in the steering wheel. All right, I can see that.
spinach on the dashboard,
Mm-hmm.
salmon on the driver's seat.
Wait, a whole salmon. That's a pretty big image.
Well, that's the point. The more vivid and maybe even a little outlandish the image, the more memorable it will be.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So, by linking these images to the parts of my car that I already know so well.
You're essentially creating a mental framework
Mm-hmm.
that makes it easier to store and retrieve new information.
It's like my car becomes this customized memory filing cabinet or something.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the best part is you can use this method for anything, not just lists.
So beyond the car method,
Hmm.
are there other memory palace techniques that Horsley talks about?
Oh, absolutely. He actually introduces a bunch of them.
Okay.
But one that I found particularly interesting is the body method.
The body method. Now, what's that all about?
Well, it's similar to the car method, but
Mhm.
instead of using your car, you use your own body as the memory palace.
So like my knees become a mental storage space.
Exactly. You could associate information with your elbows, your shoulders,
Okay.
your nose, anything really.
So I could have like the periodic table on my toes.
Well, you could, but that might get a little crowded.
True, true.
But the idea is to use those familiar body parts as anchors for new information.
So instead of picturing salmon on the driver's seat, it's maybe walnuts on my kneecaps.
Exactly. And Horsley actually uses this method to memorize the 10 different types of intelligence, each linked to a specific body part.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive. So we've got the car method, the body method.
Mm-hmm.
What about techniques for remembering things like historical dates or long lists of items?
Well, for that, he introduces the peg method and the journey method.
Okay, two more methods to add to our toolbox. Let's break those down.
So the peg method involves creating these pre-memorized pegs that you can then link new information to.
Pegs.
Yeah, think of them as mental hooks. You can use rhyming words like one is a bun, two is a shoe, and so on.
Okay, I could see how that would be helpful.
So if you wanted to remember, let's say, that the Great Wall of China was built in the 1st century, you could picture a giant bun squashing the Great Wall.
A bun squashing the Great Wall. Okay, that's definitely memorable.
And then the journey method takes this concept a step further.
How so?
Well, instead of using rhyming words, you use a familiar route, like your daily commute or a walk through your house.
So my house becomes a memory palace.
Exactly. Each landmark along your journey becomes a peg that you can attach new information to.
I like that. It's very practical and relatable.
And Horsley even shares how he uses his own house as a memory palace to remember things like grocery lists or important dates.
So we've got these structured methods, but I'm also curious about, like, the power of storytelling and memorization.
Oh, that's a huge part of it. Horsley really emphasizes the power of weaving information into bizarre and interconnected stories.
Yeah, I've heard that before. It's like turning a list of random items into this unforgettable mental movie.
Exactly. And the more outlandish and surprising the story, the more likely you are to remember it.
It's all about making those connections and associations. Speaking of connections, what about remembering names? I'm terrible at that.
Well, don't worry, you're not alone. A lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah. But Horsley has a great framework for remembering names using what he calls the 4 C's.
4 C's. Okay, I'm all ears.
So the first C is concentrate. It's about really focusing on the person and their name when you first meet them.
Yeah, I think that's where I often go wrong. I'm so busy thinking about what I'm going to say next that I don't fully absorb their name.
Right. And Horsley actually suggests cultivating genuine interest in the other person, which naturally enhances your focus and attention.
That makes sense. When you're genuinely interested in someone, you're more likely to remember their name.
The second C is create. It's about forming a vivid mental image associated with the name.
So if I meet someone named Willow, I might picture a graceful willow tree swaying in the wind.
Exactly. And the more unusual and memorable the image, the better.
Then the third C is connect.
Right. It's about connecting that image to a distinctive feature of the person, like their hairstyle or a prominent facial feature.
Okay, so I'm picturing a willow tree growing out of someone's head. Well, maybe not literally growing out of their head, but you get the idea. It's about creating a multi-layered association that makes it much harder to forget.
And the final C is continuous use.
Yeah. This simply means using the person's name throughout your interaction.
So it's not just about remembering it in the moment, it's about reinforcing that connection through repeated use.
Exactly. And it also shows the other person that you're genuinely interested in them, which is always a good thing. Now, are you ready to tackle a realm that often intimidates people? Numbers.
Numbers have always been a bit of a weak spot for me. Is there a way to make them more, well, memorable?
Absolutely. Horsley introduces the number code, a system that transforms digits into memorable words and images.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. How does it work?
Well, it involves assigning consonant sounds to each digit.
Consonant sounds.
Yeah, so for example, 0 becomes S or Z, 1 becomes T or D, 2 becomes N, and so on.
Okay, so instead of trying to remember the number 21, I could create a mental image of a net.
Exactly. And 34 might transform into a mower.
I see. So by converting numbers into these concrete words and images, it becomes much easier to remember them.
And he provides a comprehensive list of code words for numbers 0 to 100, so you have all the building blocks you need.
This is pretty amazing. Suddenly numbers don't seem so daunting. What about remembering more complex information like the different parts of a cell or the principles of physics?
For that, Horsley suggests tapping into the power of visual memory. He talks about creating personalized diagrams, mind maps, even transforming information into artwork.
Oh, that speaks to my creative side. So instead of just taking notes, I could draw a colorful mind map of the human circulatory system.
Exactly. Or you could even sculpt a representation of a DNA molecule.
That's so cool. It's like turning learning into this vibrant, multidimensional experience.
And by engaging our visual and spatial intelligence, we can enhance both our understanding and retention of the material.
Yeah, I'm curious about Horsley's take on, maintaining these newfound memory skills. How do we make sure these techniques become lasting habits?
Well, he's a big believer in self-discipline and the power of review.
So it's about creating a consistent practice, like setting aside time each day to work on these techniques.
Exactly. It's not about deprivation, it's about raising our standards and consistently showing up for our goals.
It's like making memory training a non-negotiable part of our routine, just like brushing our teeth or exercising.
And he also emphasizes the importance of spaced repetition.
Hmm.
Revisiting information at increasing intervals to solidify our recall.
So instead of cramming for a test, it's about spreading out our review sessions over time.
Right. And he offers some really practical review strategies like reciting information aloud or teaching it to someone else.
So it's about finding ways to actively engage with the material, not just passively reading it.
Exactly. And remember, memory improvement is a continuous journey. It's not about reaching some endpoint, it's about constantly challenging ourselves to grow and learn.
And with the right tools and techniques, we can unlock the extraordinary potential of our minds.
Hmm.
Wow, this deep dive into unlimited memory has really been eye-opening. I mean, we've covered so much ground.
Yeah, it's quite a journey through the world of memory.
Definitely. And I think it's a good time to maybe uh, kind of recap and crystallize those key takeaways for our listeners.
Sounds good. Let's give them like a 10-point summary.
Yeah, a 10-point roadmap for their own memory mastery adventures.
Okay, so number one, memory is a skill, not a fixed ability.
Right. Anyone can improve with the right training.
Exactly.
2, believe in your memory's potential, cultivate that growth mindset.
3, practice single tasking to sharpen your focus. Tame those distractions.
4, engage your senses, exaggerate, energize your learning, make it vivid and memorable.
5, utilize memory systems like the CAR method, the body method, the journey method to create those mental frameworks.
6, weave information into bizarre and unexpected stories. Tap into the power of humor and association.
7, remember names by concentrating, creating vivid images, connecting them to distinctive features, and using those names repeatedly.
8, master the number code, turning digits into words and images, conquering those numerical challenges.
9, transform information into visual representations, mind maps, diagrams, artwork, anything that speaks to your visual and spatial intelligence.
And 10, make self-discipline and spaced repetition your allies, solidifying knowledge through consistent practice and review.
So there you have it, 10 powerful keys to unlock the extraordinary potential of your memory.
It's pretty incredible to think that we all have this capacity within us just waiting to be unleashed.
Yeah, and Horsley really drives that point home, that a strong memory is not just about memorizing facts, it's about living a richer, more fulfilling life.
It's about learning faster, being more creative, connecting with others on a deeper level.
And who wouldn't want that?
So, dear listeners, I encourage you to take action today. Choose one of these techniques, maybe one that really resonated with you,
Yeah,
and start incorporating it into your daily routine. You might be amazed by the results.
absolutely. And until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep learning, keep those memories sharp.
And keep believing in the boundless power of your own mind. Thanks for joining us.